Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Man Cave Chronicles. Your host, James Dean Littlejohn. How the devil are you? I've got a bit of invigoration, a bit of spirit going down here. How the devil are you? How have you been since the last time we spoke? Hopefully, you've been okay. I'm trying to get things set up. As you can see, I've got the Christmas gonk and bonk out, ready. I don't know what I've done there. I've just literally, I'm attacking the place. But yeah, hopefully I've sorted the mic out. It's still a little bit gainy, last week. So I'm hoping if I pulled this away a little bit and I just I just need to calm myself down. I get a little bit excited when I'm on here. But hopefully you're okay. Hopefully you've been smashing your way through the November season as we encroach on December. We are here. This is why the gonks come out. He's come out a little bit early. We just put the family Christmas decorations up, and it was nice. It was good. It was a good little bit of fun. And my middle daughter, she was a pain in the ass as always. But it was a good time. We all got together. The spirit starts coming alive. We had a bit of Christmas music on and a little bit of champagne, just to sit the night away. No excuses. Typical British. Have a little bit of alcohol whenever occasion comes around. So just a little sip, just a little tipple of champagne, which was quite nice, just to sit down with the family. I think that's a good thing actually with the family. They're all at that age, where they're all adults almost. I say all of them almost. I've still got my youngest, but she's 14. But but the rest of them, they're all adults. They're out drinking, so it's nice because we can all do adulty things together. So it starts coming a little bit more sociable, shall we say, a bit more sociable. So, but it was nice. We had a bit of Christmas tunes on. We had a little bit of a laugh. The gonks coming into the man cave just to try and get a spirit into here as much as I can. Anyway, but hopefully, you're positively coming into December. It's a bit of a difficult time this year. I'll be honest. This was a struggle to come on here tonight. I'm not going to lie. I'm all about transparency. I'm all about open and honestness. But I've had a fucking tough weekend, if I'm brutally honest. And do you know what? I genuinely don't know what. I say I don't know why. I think I know why. And I've been reflecting quite heavily on it today because I was very, 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 I was in a dark place yesterday. Everybody was out. I was on my own all day. And I just sat overthinking everything. And I had a really difficult day. It really struggled to get through. I was in bed by 8 o'clock because my demons were running in my head quite profusely, actually. And it's really weird to say. It's really weird. I don't say these things. I've had the reason I'm going to raise this now is I've had a couple of comments you shouldn't pay attention to trolls at the end of the day. You shouldn't do. And I'm one of those. I try not to get affected by those sorts of things. But there was a comment that was made. It was quite funny little comment actually, and he was like, "You're a grown man. Sort yourself out." And I was like, "Yeah, I am a grown man, but what does that mean?" And for me, that's like it was a bit of a counterintuitive sort of response, really, because I was like, I'm trying to raise awareness about men's mental health, about mental health in general, also trying to give a little bit of I suppose some life lessons, some struggles, admittedly, I probably do vent a little bit and overshare. But however, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm an oversharer. That's one of those things I do. And I kind of enjoy it. And like I said, if you're coming along for the journey here, it's normally around about it's about helping me process things. And by oversharing, the reason I was really struggling to come on today. And I wasn't sure I was going to, but I thought to myself, I've got into a routine of doing it weekly again. And I say to everybody, that 3-month learned habit, and I've been doing it about 3 months now. So I'm starting to get into a bit of a regular drumbeat with it, which is quite nice. And I enjoy it. And, but then at the same time, it's like anything, you put yourself out there. And as soon as you open up, you're opening up to inevitable feedback, and not all of that is going to be is going to be positive, and a lot of it is going to be negative, because unfortunately that's the internet for you. But I'll be honest, I'm navigating that minefield at the moment. I'm kind of like the problem is when I see a negative comment, I kind of I go into full defense mode. I literally, like, this person, but you're a full grown man. And I literally responded to him just like I said, "Shut up, you prick. Where do you live? I'm going to smash your fucking face in." I just thought to myself, why did you go from 0 to hero? But it's the way I think, because I'm quite passionate about this. I'm passionate about talking about things, especially I know a lot of my focus, a lot of the focus of this podcast has been around about ADHD and autism. And I think that's probably because in the last sort of 4 years, I've really been trying to understand it. And it's kind of my last podcast I used to do, which was the gentleman's talk. I say that I shouldn't know. But I do actually have a gentleman's talk from a good friend of mine, a gentleman's talk, original mug I used to sit and do the podcast with. So, I'm going to leave that out. Actually, I'm going to leave that there for the view. So I don't know. It's kind of, but that was more about mental health for me because I was kind of struggling with my mental health in general, and then I came out can't say I came out the other side, but at the same time, I was still feeling I'd done a lot of therapy, I'd done a lot of supportive actions, and I'd done all the right things, and it still wasn't working, and that's when I went and got diagnosed, and that was for me was a pivotal point. So I'm really learning about myself, and I think it's important to share those learning points because ultimately that's what the internet's for, and I think one of the reasons I share and probably overshare, I probably do, is mainly because I didn't know who to turn to in my darkest hours, and that was one of the biggest things for me, was raising awareness about who to talk to, and that whoever that is, that could be your support network, I don't know who it is, but ultimately the whole purpose of mental health and being transparent and being open and honest about things is to try and sort of raise awareness and also let people know that you're not the only one. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. And as soon as you say that, you can also you can almost get a little bit defensive. The heckles go up, and you kind of sat there going, well, what do you mean? I'm fucking the only one. I am the only one but you're not. Inherently, you're not the only one. There's loads of people out there. Like I say, the suicide rate is fucking through the roof. It's astronomical. And it's actually getting worse. I read a statistic. I didn't read a statistic. Sorry, that was a blatant lie. I read an article about the statistic, and there was this field. You may have seen it. There was a massive field, and basically there was single shoes, and there was hundreds of single shoes, and basically it was like, this is how many people have committed suicide this year, and it was a field full of shoes, and it was like, as humans, we get a real impact by visuals. Whether it be a set of boobs, we all know that. Whatever it may be, you get a visual. You're, wee, that's a fucking lovely thing. But everything is a visual statement. I very much work on visuals, so I think it's important to see that, and that's the real hard hitter for me, is when you see a visual, an actual representation of people that have died and that have committed suicide, and it's sort of kind of like, that's what I said. It brought me back to my grassroots about mental health a few weeks back, and to just kind of raise that awareness, because we don't talk about it even now. This is the frustrating bit. I'm one person. I know there's a plethora of other people out there, and there's a big internet storm of neurodivergency, talking about neurodivergency, and all that sort of stuff, which I look as a positive, because the more people that are talking about it, the more that we raise awareness, the less likely you are to feel sheltered and isolated, and sort of come out your shell, and also to talk. That was one of my biggest turning points. Like for me, the podcast, although it's oversharing in some lights, I enjoy it because it helps me to reflect, and it helps me to sort of process everything. So as I talk about things unscripted and it's just unfiltered, it's normally, which is, again, how's that? Something banging on the side of the door. But it's unfiltered, and I think for me, that's when I start processing things. So I look at that, the value in that, and that's what normally triggers. It's normally the after effect of this. So I normally do a podcast, and then the after effect is where I actually start like not overthinking, but thinking about things in depth, and actually looking about ways that I can kind of help myself and go, okay, that's what's bugged me, and that's what's annoyed me, and I need to avoid that. So it's like a processing mechanism, and inherently that's what you need to do in mental health. That's exactly what you need to do. You need to talk about it, because by talking about it, what it does is it not only raises awareness to other people, but by talking about it, you're opening up about yourself. You're sharing. By sharing, you're halving the problem. A problem shared is a problem halved, and that's an old saying. So I might be sharing to the world. Inherently, I'm just looking at a camera and I'm just speaking to a mic, and in my man cave in Wiltshire. That's me. I'm not really anything special. But for me, what it does is it allows me to own what is happening to me. So I said to you at the start, I didn't know why I was sad this weekend, and I did. I got to Friday. I was physically exhausted. I took Friday off because I was a bit mentally drained. And then I got to Saturday, and everybody was out Saturday, and I was on my own. And normally I enjoy being on my own. I do enjoy my own space. But I think because I was so sad, and I didn't realize how sad I was until I was sat in the afternoon, and I was horrible. It was a horrible place. I was sat there procrastinating about all sorts. People don't like me. I was like, oh, fucking hell, have I done this at work? And nobody knows my worth. And one of the sort of key drivers was that I didn't think about I didn't process what was wrong with me or why I was wrong with me. I just got to the point where, again, this weekend, I was like, I really can't do this. I can't do this rat race life. I can't do this work thing that I'm doing at the moment. And I don't mean that in a work shy area, because that's not what I mean. You know, for me, working is, I like to work. I like to give back to society. It's ingrained in me. You know, I was raised, I think, the right way. You know, get out there, get a job, earn some money, give yourself that life, give yourself the every time you earn a penny or a pound, whatever you earn in, you know, it feeds into, yes, we have taxes, we have bills that we have to pay. Exactly, I get that. But there's always you work hard to play hard. You know, that's what it should be. So for me, every time I earn a pound, I think of it, it's a pound towards a memory. It's a pound towards a new experience. So that's my driving factor in life. So for me, working is, you know, it's the gate key. It's the unlock. You unlock that padlock of work. But you do well at work. You get paid well, and then you enjoy life. And that's the way it goes. You know, that's for me anyway. No, not everybody's like that. You know, there's a lot of people that like the easy life, the simple life. There's a lot of people like going off grid. There's a lot of people that like traveling, going off to the world. You know, that's the beauty of being a human being. We're all different. You know, we're all a unique fingerprint, you know? So, you know, for me, it's kind of, I just sort of looked at my hand there and I think to myself, I thought I had white finger there, but it's not. So sat there, shit. I got white finger, bad circulation problem this time of year. So, you know, but it was about an hour ago. I sat down and I was doing we're doing decorations together. And I was just sat, we had a bit of music on. It was like Christmas music, nothing a bit jazzy yet, because it was quite late in the evening. And I was sat there and I was like, right, I need to prepare myself mentally for this podcast, because I was kind of like sat there going, I don't know what to talk about. I do know what to talk about, but I was kind of like, what's my mood? Where am I going? What's the flow? Because I knew how negative I was yesterday. And yesterday I was sat there and I genuinely, I'm going to be open and honest. I genuinely got to a point where I was like, I think I've done everything I need to do in life. Am I content? And that's a real dark place for me, because I was like kind of going like, is there anything else I want to achieve? There's lots I want to achieve, but I don't think I'm going to get there because of the fucking rat race of life. And because I was in such a negative headspace, I just went, I can't be asked. I really can't be asked. I just genuinely, I'd had enough of life. And that sounds really strong, but that's genuinely like, when I say, and I'm going to chuck the neurodivergency in there, when you feel an emotion with ADHD and autism, it's an extreme emotion. There's no middle ground. This is what I'm saying about ADHD, which is the negative side. And I'm going to talk about a few negative things today. But the negative side is that emotional level. It's either you're fully almost manic depressive, fucking suicidal, fucking horrendous. The world is against me. Everybody hates me. Or you're extremely fucking happy. But you're extremely happy and you're loud. I mean, there was a comment that was made at work, and bearing in mind, I can be a bit outrageous. And we were chatting away and we had this little conversation. And whenever you talk about sex, I'm a typical man. You talk about sex, and I get excited. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, what's happening there? I don't know why. I'm like a giddy kid. And then we were sat there talking about sex at work. And I can't even remember what the topic was. And, that was it. We were talking about a friend of ours, a colleague of ours, has just bought a sofa. She's got a sofa in her new house. She just bought a new house and she just kitted it all out. Absolutely incredible place. But there's this chair that she's bought and she didn't measure the size of it. And it's like it's a lovely, lovely chair. It's a 2-seater sofa. It's not a chair, it's a sofa. It's a 2-seater sofa, but it's a small one. And it's like, Chesterfield. It's a bit like a Chesterfield, that sort of thing, you know, that sort of style, you know. So the sort of, it's very elegant. It's the easiest way, and it's in red. And we were calling it the brothel chair. The colleagues at work, and we were all sort of sat there just having a bit of a land. We go, oh, you fucking are you in the brothel chair this week, are you? And we were making a bit of a banter about it. Anyway, we were sat there, and then it sort of got a bit crazy. And anyway, we were talking about one of the girls, and I turned around and I said, oh, fuck off. She's been banged more times in the taxi door. Now, everybody sort of laughed, and I went, yeah, she's like fucking Pac-Man. And I started making the noise. Now, how unprofessional is that? That is horrendously unprofessional. It was horrendously unprofessional. But I sat there, and I just sort of kind of, my boss turned around to me and he went, you can't fucking say that, James. Luckily, I knew the person, and and I've known them, you know. It was outrageous banter, but it was in a safe space. That's the easiest way to describe it. It wasn't like it was outrageous to the point where, you know, we were worried. I was worried about what I was saying. It was banter. We've had banter like that before. So trust me, it was okay. It was okay. But at the same time, if someone had overheard the conversation, could have taken offense to it. So these are the things that I say, and that's that unfiltered bit. So as much as I try to hold off those things, it does sometimes get out of the way. And I just sort of turned, and we made a bit of a joke about it. He's like, yeah, you know, the other day, James, when you were fucking excited, got talking around, and you get a bit outrageous, you were making the fucking noises and everything. And I went, yeah, I was. I can't help that. That's who I am. That's the person I am. Like I was talking the other day about masking, and I said, it's so hard to mask who I am. I'm just an outrageous fucking person. I like life. But at the same time, when I'm really, really low, like I was this weekend, and I had no one around, I could have reached out and spoke to anyone, and I didn't. I just sort of sat there and I just went, I don't know what to fucking do about this. This is fucking horrendous. I just don't want to fucking be here. This is fucking bullshit. If this is what life's about, where I work 5 days a fucking week, to get to the weekend, to feel tired, exhausted, to feel fucking like, I don't know, there was nothing there. And I just felt really shit. Anyway, I was in a preparation for this, and I was trying to procrastinate. I was trying to overthink about what sort of mood I was in to try and gauge how I was going to talk on a podcast, because I'm very, very much, I'm driven by my emotions. And I say I'm emotionless. When I say I'm emotionless, I mean, like, I don't get upset about things. I don't cry, is the easiest way. I do get upset about things, but I don't cry. So when I say emotion, I don't show an emotion. My emotion is always, the only visible emotion you'll get is extreme laughter and outrageousness, or angry. They're the two emotions. So it's an on-off switch. That is the easiest way to explain my mood. It's an on-off switch. I'm either extremely depressed, or I'm fucking extremely fucking happy. So I was trying to think about those things, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, James? You know, what was up with you today? What was up with you yesterday? Why did you think like that? Why were you giving up? And it did. I had to go to bed to physically shut down those thoughts, because I couldn't cope. Run through the scenario so many times, trying to stop it. What you fucking playing at? It's Christmas. You know, you've got things coming up. You've got fucking, you know, it's all about family, friends, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I couldn't get over the hill. I could not get over that hill. It was like I was on a mudslide. And I just went, I'm just going to go to fucking bed. I'm just going to go to fucking bed. So what I did today was, I woke up this morning at 7:30. I got up, I went to the gym. I straight away went to the fucking gym. I was like, right, I'm going to get the endorphins out. I'm going to do a fucking big chest session, because that's the, you know, what men like, a big chest, you know. And I was sat there going, I'm going to go fucking do a chest session. So I did a chest session and met up with my mate. We got up together. We met together at the gym. It's the easiest word. And that fucking rumors can spread like that. And then we had a good hour. We were just like chest pressing, having a bit of banter, chatting, talking about a day, what we're doing next week, and it was all good stuff. So I knew my mood started to lift a little bit. And then I got back in and I went downtown. The first thing I did, went downtown, was I got my fucking, whatever it's called, top knot fucking bottom bit shaved in. And I thought to myself, right, that's got shaved in. Went and bought a new shirt, because I thought I want a new shirt for next week. And I'm gonna trim my beard. So I've shaped my beard and trimmed my beard. And I did everything that I thought. So I've done everything I thought could make me better. Do you know what I mean? So I've looked after myself. I've gone and got a haircut. I've made myself feel good. I've got some nice new clothes, you know, in the sale. So I was like, I saved a bit of money, didn't spend a lot of money, but made myself feel good for next week. So I was like, and I went out for a long walk. I got my steps in. So I'd done everything. So I was like ticking the box. I was going down this little checklist going, right, you know, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this. You know, you've had plenty of water. Not that, that's the thing, but I had plenty of water. So, and I haven't drunk this weekend. So I knew it wasn't that. Anyway, I was sat there today, and I was sat doing this, doing the Christmas stuff with the family. And I was sat there thinking, like, trying to get my mood, trying to gauge my mood, see what's going down. How do I feel? What am I going to talk about? And part of the reason I think that I felt so shit is last week I turned down a job. Now, it's as you know, I've spoke about this over the last few podcasts about the job. It's been a big part of my life for the last fucking month. Trying to sort things out, trying to step up and get to the next level, and, you know, unlock new things, and also to get me into a new headspace, because I've kind of been doing this job for a couple of years. It's been pretty much the same thing. There's nothing new. I'm getting a bit tetchy, a bit fucking bored. The ADHD's going, like, you know, it's almost agitated. It's like fucking legs going. I'm just sat there going, fucking hell, James, you're getting fucking bored. You need a new challenge. What are you going to do? But you're not going to do a new challenge in this place because you don't get paid for it. So it was a whole thing. So I rejected it on the premise of my own mental health. I actually rejected it because of my mental health and my work-life balance. It wasn't the right job for me. Now, I know that because I've thought about it long and hard. And, even over the past few months, I was sat there going like, is it the right job? Do I want to leave? All this sort of stuff. So I went through all the process, did the interview and everything else, and I got offered the job. And I was like, brilliant. This is fucking amazing. And then not the guilt hit, but the reality that I needed to make a decision hit. So I sat there and I was like, right, I need to weigh the pros and cons. I've done the hard bit. I've got through the interview. And now I've got to the point where, and some people may say, why did you apply for the job if you didn't think you were going to go for it? And I was like, well, I've asked a few questions at the interview. And those interview questions came back with the job offer. Now, those interview questions were, where do you want me? Do you need me to travel? And what is my traveling day? Where do you expect to see me? What sites? All that sort of stuff came up. And it was all put into, clear picture for me. And what that meant was I was going to be working an extra hour in the morning to get to the site, do my full day in an extra hour in the evening. And I have to use my own car, blah, blah, blah. And I weighed up pros and cons, and I was like, even with the pay increase, with the extra travel, I'm going to gain an extra 6 hours of work a week instantly through travel. And I don't like travel, as you probably heard if you'd have ever listened to any of the Gentleman's Talk podcasts, which are on this link. I think they're still in my my YouTube. You go right down the bottom, you'll hear that I had 3 car crashes. So in 18 months, or just I think it was about 18 months, 19 months. Yeah, it was something like that. And I spoke about that at the start of this podcast, this new reinvigoration of the Man Cave Chronicles. And anyway, I procrastinate and digress as I normally do. So, so I was kind of like, I didn't want to do the traveling again. I didn't want to go down that route. And so I had to prioritize my work-life balance, being at home for my kids. And I went, well, this clearly isn't the right job for me. However, there's still an impact. And the impact is what I felt. I felt like I'd given up an opportunity. I felt like I'd given up a new challenge. So I think that the sort of rejection sensitivity sort of part came in, which is weird because I didn't get rejected. I rejected myself, but I rejected myself to prioritize my mental health. So I know I've done the right thing, but that's probably invigorated a bit of my mood because I've kind of gone, right, well, you're now in the stagnant state now, James. You were trying to get out for a new challenge. So what are you going to do about that? And all of those things were cropping in my head and thinking about my things, which is one of the main reasons why I drove this. Because I was like, well, you know what you enjoy talking, you like speaking out and all that sort of stuff. And here I am. And that's kind of like where I was yesterday. So, but it's important for me to acknowledge that feeling yesterday because it was a real low mood. And it was a real sharp shock to the system because I was kind of like, I don't really want to fucking be here. And it's that brutal when I say I don't want to be here. That's how brutal it is. I kind of go, I never really think about, I know it never gets to the full piece because I never think about how to do it. So it's kind of like me going, I think it's like I'm trying to internalize that and go, it's almost like a motivational thing. I think that's the way I'm going to try and treat it. I'm going to try and put a positive spin on it. I'm going to try and treat it like a positive spin. And I'm trying to think maybe it's a motivator for me. I don't know. Maybe it's a strong fucking motivator, isn't it? Jesus Christ, thinking about fucking giving up because you're not getting, you're not on a happy path. But I was genuinely saying that. I was sat there going like, I don't like the path I'm on. I've put myself on this path and the path is a comfortable path. I've worked hard to get to this path, but I don't like it. It's not giving me the job satisfaction. It's not giving me, the life satisfaction I want. So I don't know. That's something I have to, I still have to unpick that. I don't know how to unpick it, but that's something I got to unpick. But even just talking about it now is helping me to sort of get that sort of flow, get the juices going inside the brain to try and think about how I can manage that. And it's weird because I thought to myself, like, I felt like this quite a bit. I feel that there's quite a bit in this new venture I did. But when I was in the RAF and I was in my previous job and I speak about like painting aircraft and stuff like that, which is, it was always new. It was always fun. Everybody loves to fucking work on aircraft. Jesus Christ, well, not everybody, but it's quite empowering to work on an aircraft, something military aircraft, it's quite fun. I don't know. It was fun. It was dynamic. It was enjoyable. It was exciting. And I don't get that. And that's the weird thing is for 21 years, I never had this feeling. And a sad feeling about other things and, that sort of stuff. But for me, I've never had a position where I've not enjoyed my job, which is really weird for me because I enjoy it to a point. And like what I found in my new current, my current workflow, if you like, I get to about 2 years and I go, okay, this is routine now. This is like boring. I don't want to do this anymore. Whereas with the previous job, it was every day was a different day. And I say that safety is a bit like that, but I'm not quite in that realm. It's hard to explain. I'm dipping a toe in safety. So I get a little bit of it, get a bit of excitement. And then I go back to my job and I go, this is fucking boring. This is just talking about the same shit. This is just me reminding them, reminding fucking people. That's what I do. I just chase and remind. Are you doing this? And it gets a bit repetitive. And I've certainly felt that in a real strong sense this weekend. I went, fucking hell. You turned down that job and you're excited about it, but I've turned it down for the right reasons. Also noting that one of the big driving factors for me turning it down was my current employer were very nice in the sense that they really did care, want me there, etc., etc. I will caveat that they did fuck all to keep me. So it's a bit of a weird one because they did nothing to say. They didn't offer me anything to stay. I just kind of went, this isn't the job for me. This one I've been offered. So it's kind of like, well, I'll stick with this one. But they were really nice about it. So it kind of made me feel a little bit, made me feel valued. So I think that ticked one of the boxes on the side of my fence where I felt valued. But then I started thinking over and over, and I was kind of like, what am I doing wrong in this job? What am I, what are the feedback? So I've asked for a bit of feedback as well. And I think I was trying to generate a few thoughts around the feedback as well. And the feedback very much is I need to learn to say no. And again, it feeds into my neurodivergency, very frustrating for me because I don't like saying no, because at the same time, I like the dopamine that gives me and the excitement that yes will give me potentially. So it's like, although I burn myself out, it's a part of the brain that's really hard to turn off. And it sort of draws me in actually. But anyway, that's work stuff. So I've had a lot to think about this. I'm trying to draw myself into a pathway, but that wasn't a natural pathway for me there. So I just kind of deviate back. I hope I did that in a smooth manner. I hope I did that a little bit of a smooth way. But anyway, I won't digress just yet. The mental health side of me is really taking a toll. But then I, again, caveat all sorts with things like, I know that it's winter for me. And we've had about a month now of early morning, dark mornings and dark nights. And they're horrible. It's very cold. That's fucking horrible. It's raining. It's fucking horrible. So I like winter when it's like, there's no rain. So I like it when it's just crisp and a little bit cold with the frost in the morning, the fog, you put your gloves on, all that sort of stuff. But I like it with the nice sunrise that comes up and the sun sets. But when it gets to the dark period, because we're in dark periods, like really stupidly early now, I don't know. I can see those starting to take its toll. Hence the reason why I'll move away. I've got my sad lamp on me in my peripherals, doing a little bit of the good work for me. So trying everything. Again, ticking boxes. So gym, tick. Healthy eating, tick. Water, tick. Seeing a little bit of socializing, tick. Cut my hair, cut my beard, tick. Sun lamp, tick. So I have ticked the fucking checklist. There's nothing more I can do it. So I know there's an underlying thing. I need to work that out. I've got to try and navigate that minefield. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. But I like to be open and honest because at the end of the day, it's the whole purpose of this. Let's get us talking. Let's get me talking. Let's get you talking. Let's open up to people. And I think it's really important to do that. Because you shut yourself away. That's when I get my loneliness. I was really lonely yesterday, which is, again, a really fucking stupid thing to say. Why are you so lonely? You've got a house, people were just out for the day. But I was in such a dark place that I felt lonely. And I felt low, lonely, didn't want to be there, didn't enjoy my job. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had a real good fucking laugh in my job. Real bit of banter, good times. And I know I talk about the other day, but again, that was a silent laugh. That was a silent little isolated, siloed bit of banter because I couldn't unmask and show everybody. So it's that weird thing. I keep talking about that. It's kind of like I'm in a weird place. And I've got to be a responsible adult. And I don't want to be a fucking responsible adult. I hate being a responsible adult. It's the worst thing in the world to be a fucking responsible adult. As much as as much as I'm good at it, I don't enjoy it. It's fucking horrible. It's horrible to be responsible. I want to be a debaucherous fucking young lad running around going, hey, let's have a fucking good time. But I can't. And so I spent the weekend just procrastinating about those sort of things, and it sort of drew me to think about my podcast, which was a good thing because it got me talking. And here I am, absolutely dialed in. And what I want to talk to you about, actually, I'm going to talk to you about neurodivergency a little bit as well. And the reason I want to talk about neurodivergency a little bit, and more specifically, is ADHD. Um, and I'm going to talk about a specific point, and this is more really me again being transparent with the community, and at the same time asking for feedback. Do people feel this? I mean, it's something I've certainly felt, and I'd like to know if other people feel it. I'm not really quite sure, so it'd be interesting to see. So please, if you're watching this and and something resonates with you, stick it in the comments, please, and I'll happily take some. I'll happily respond, or maybe take some of those food for thought. I've had some really lovely comments from people recently about this resonating and stuff with them. So it's really empowering for me because it means, number one, someone's listening, which makes me feel good. And also at the same time, it gives me that area to try and look and, to try and understand if I can relate to somebody. So it's a bit of a good one. And also that fucking eyebrow there, it's been pissing me off. I keep watching the camera, and I know I'm folks, but it just makes it look like I don't know. I'm gonna have to sort that. I'm gonna square that one away. It's because I'm surprised all the time. Oh, what the fuck is going on with life? And that is life. I'm like I walk around life at the moment like that. Fucking hell, I did not expect that. I did not expect that. Anyway, fucking hell, calm down, James. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I'm talking about not missing somebody. Now, what do I mean by that? I genuinely don't miss people, which is a scary, scary thing. And I want to know if anyone else sort of feels that. And by that, I mean, I can cut people out of my life and never ever see them again and never give them a thought. And then every now and then they'll pop in, like I've spoken quite deeply about, I haven't spoken to my sister for like 10 years, and that does affect me. And that was all because we fell out 10 years ago. And I know there'll be people going, fucking hell, grow up, mate. Fucking just make it. It's in the past, all that sort of jazz. I get that. Okay, I'm not stupid. I get that. I literally know that you should just forgive, forget, move on. I can't, because I've tried to apologize and the apology wasn't met with the same, well, there's a word I'm looking for. I can't think of what it's for. It wasn't met in the same way. I don't know. It wasn't met in the same way. It wasn't met with the same positivity. I was almost told to fuck off. And I went, okay, then. So I tried again a couple of years later. So, reach out. And it's never been met. So I kind of think to myself, well, it's not on my side of the fence, but I'm not going to keep chasing, because that's where I talk about knowing your worth, and also put in what you get out. And I was trying to put in, and I wasn't getting anything out of it. So, but I talk about that, and it does affect me because it's family at the end of the day. It's blood. Although I always say, just because they're blood, it doesn't mean you should take their shit, and you should take the attitude, or you should take the negativity that comes with them being family. You still know your self-worth. Just because they're blood, it doesn't mean that you have to put up with those things. And that's inherently where we were a bit younger. I've matured quite significantly since then. We are talking 10 years, but we are at that point. But at the same time, I don't miss her. Like, a really weird thing. I don't miss, literally, every now and then I give a thought and go, oh, I wonder what she's up to. But I don't sit there and go, I miss her. I could not see friends for weeks, or people can't text. And as soon as they stop texting, I just stop. And I don't mean to. I genuinely get to the point where I don't miss people. I've had friends that I've just literally gone, okay, see you later. And I don't miss them. I don't miss family, don't miss friends. I don't miss work people. Every now and then I'll give them a food for thought. But 9 times out of 10, the people that I keep in touch with, I will say 9 times out of 10, in fact, 9.5 times out of 10, the people I keep in touch with are because they keep in touch with me. And it's all linked to that dopamine. And you're the dopamine hunter, as I saw myself the other day. And it's linked to that dopamine. It's linked to that, to getting that, because this is the scary, and the reason I'm trying to raise this is because it's fucking scary. This is one of the huge, huge negatives of ADHD. We talk about people saying, I'm disorganized, and we talk about people saying I'm emotional, in the sense that I emotionally react, and, I can get extreme sad and extreme happiness. I literally just spoke about that. But there's other bits that talk about, yes, there's a disorganized bit, and people go, I can't fucking disorganize myself. But it's so much more. And this is the bit I say, it's so much more. I genuinely don't miss people. I don't. I can just not give people a thought. Most of the people, and it's not because I'm an arrogant prick, because as soon as people, re-engage with me and say, should we do this or we do that, I'm fucking all in. I'm like, dude, where the fuck you been? Where? And it's like they never left. I know for a fact if I saw my sister, I'd just be like, pass. Let's have a fucking good time. Let's have a fucking party. Let's have a fucking word. How you been? What you been up to? Those sorts of things. I know that I would be like that. But then if we went away and I never saw her for 10 years again, it wouldn't upset me. Like, I don't genuinely get upset. Now that's quite scary for me. And I suppose that was one of the driving thought factors for this weekend was, and it was because I was in a negative headspace, and I was like, why don't you? And I was getting angry with myself. And I was like, why the fuck don't you miss anybody, mate? And I don't. I genuinely don't miss anybody. I don't give people a second thought. Not that, and I don't mean as in like I'm a twat, because when I think about them, I'm like, oh, fucking hell, what are they up to? I'd love to know what they're up to. And then I'll give them a message. Or I haven't seen a few people, so I'll organize a party, or I'll organize a get together. And that's because that's what I need. And I go, oh, fuck it. If I invite everyone round, it gives me the dopamine I need. And then we go on. It's like I saw my mate, and we were best friends at fucking school, like best friends. And then we didn't see each other for like about 20 fucking years. And we've come full circle, and, we now work in the same place together. And then he came round, and I invited him round, and we came round, and we had a really good fucking night in the Clock and Balls. We had a bit of a party, we had a good get together, a couple of photos on the wall, and we created a good memory and everything else. We had loads of people around. We had a really good party, and he was like, fuck yeah, mate, that was amazing. And I was like, it was amazing. The next time we did it, and the next time I saw him was a year later. We work in the same place, and he lives down the road. The next time I saw him was a year later. And that's because his life was busy. He's got a younger family than me, but his life was busy, and I didn't chase. I just get to the point, and it's quite scary. And I feel like a bit of a dick, actually, just by saying it, because I think to myself, why are you a dick, James? But I don't mean to be. It's one of those things that I genuinely, I can just cut people out and then move on with my life. Now, that's probably a healthy element into that, because I don't sit there and worry about people. I certainly don't sit there and think, what are they up to, and miss people. And because of that, and because I don't think what they're up to, and they're not giving me a dopamine hit, and they're not giving me those adrenaline, those endorphins, and the serotonin that makes me excited, I just go, fuck it, they're done. And then I'll get a message saying, like, how are you? And I'll be like, oh, hello. And that's when I know I'm not a dick. I do it because I just don't miss people. But it's been really scary. And I think as I'm getting older, it's more of a worry, because as I get older, I'm encroaching on, 45 soon, 9 months away from fucking being 45. 9 months is long enough. I know. So you could say, well, fucking hell, that's still fucking 3/4 of a year. Wah, wah, wah. I know it is. But what I'm saying is life still moves on. Time does not stop. And that's how, and it was the scary bit for me is it had been 10 years since I've seen her. That's and she's 18 miles away. We've just never made an effort. We never even bothered. And I don't know whether I don't know how she feels, because we never spoke. But for me, it's quite scary that time can go by that quickly, and I don't give anything a second thought, unless I physically have to make the effort. I don't make a thought. It's quite a scary thing. And I kind of wanted to just feed into you, really, and just see what your thoughts were. If there's anyone out there that feels the same sort of thing, maybe you're neurodivergent, and hopefully you can reinforce my feelings and the way that I deal with it, because it's for me, it was scary. It was scary to sit there and go, I don't miss people. And I don't. I've got people that I've not spoke to in fucking 6 months that I literally just cut off and went, well, they're not engaging with me anymore. They don't really talk to me anymore. They don't really engage in my posts or anything like that. So, they're doing their own thing. So, fuck off out of my life then. And I cut them out of my life, and I don't give them a second thought. I literally don't. It doesn't even cross my mind. And I emphasize that point, because it's scary how I can go through life and just not have that thought process, not have that not get that emotional about things. I don't, and it's not that I don't care, because I genuinely do care. I'm actually pride myself on being quite a caring, nice person, but I don't sit there and worry about it. I don't even think about it. It doesn't even give a second thought. Now, if you'd have said to me, oh, she's organising a fucking party, we're going to go around and there's going to be fucking cake and fucking nibbles and drink and a good laugh and a fucking music, I'd be like, yeah, okay, brilliant. Do you know why? Because that's going to be dopamine. That's going to be me. I'm going to be fucking excited. So I'm going to go there, do that, come back, burnt out, and fucking go to sleep, wait on. Yeah, there we go. See you in another 10 years. And I'm using my sister as an example because it's quite an extreme example because I've done it with a lot of people. I've done it with, I've done it with, I fell out with my mum. I fell out with my brother years ago and we didn't talk for like 2 years until my dad, I think my dad mediated us actually. My dad kind of went, you need to fucking sort this out. And I did. He forced me to go sort your fucking self out and act like the bigger brother. And I did. And I should have acted like the bigger brother here, to be fair. I shouldn't be so fucking childish, but there's still an element of the childishness in me. And I feel, and again, I look at it as a protective thing as well, because I'm kind of like, well, actually, I did nothing wrong. So, and I did nothing wrong to create this scenario. It was just we were both in a really difficult place. I know my sister's struggled with mental health quite a bit. So did my brother. It seems to be running in the family because we're all fucking mental. So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. But when I look back and go, yeah, well, that's it. Just move on. In fact, I think the only person that's probably neurotypical in my family is my mum. She's the one that takes all the emotion. She kind of sits there and goes, why hasn't my son spoke to me for fucking ages? And I kind of go, oh, hello. She'll ring me and I go, I'm not in the mood to fucking talk at the moment because I'm probably burnt out for something. And then I'll put it to the side. And I see before you even start, I see so many things where they say, engage with your mum and dad. You don't know when it's going to be the last time, and I get that. I've got a dog how you can go from mum and dad to dog, I don't know. That's where my brain goes. But I got my dog, he's 13. He's 13, German Shepherd, and he's mentally compass mentis, fucking still sharp as a bullet. Still sharp as a bullet mentally, fucking right up there. Still looks handsome as fook. In fact, I don't even know where can I show you a picture? I took a picture of it today and see if I can show you up to the camera. See if you can see that. That's my boy. Look at that. I took that earlier on. He's 13-year-old. You know what I mean? Look at that. He's a fucking absolute gem of a dog. But his body's giving up. His body is going blind and he's got osteoarthritis in his back legs, putting more weight on his front legs. But time, I'm spending loads more time with him recently because I know that there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to probably be the adult. I'm going to have to make a decision. I fucking hate making decisions, but I love making decisions, but not in this sense. This is a horrible fucking thing to make, but I know I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to make that decision one day, and I'm going to have to live with that decision. That I know mentally, he is fine, and he would go on forever. He's still sharp as a fucking bullet at 13, and I also know that he's that he's a handsome looking, he's well looked after, but I know I'm going to have to make a decision because his body's going to give up and he's never going to tell me. So I'm going to have to make a decision I'm going to have to live with, and that guilt all of my life. Now, people have been preparing me for this for a long time because I don't know whether I spoke to you again in an old podcast probably, but my dog saved my life. Which sounds fucking really extreme again. And you're like, fucking hell, James, you're just an extreme Looney Tune. No, but he genuinely did. When I had my first car crash, I didn't get out of bed. I genuinely didn't get out of bed for about 4 weeks. I just, the only thing I got out of bed for was to go downstairs and fucking eat. And I stayed in bed. I just went to bed. I just shut myself away. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I fucking hated the world. And then literally, my wife came up to me and she said, you're not very well. I know you're not very well, and I don't know how to approach this. So we're going to go and get you a dog. I'm going to get you out walking, and you're going to walk that dog, and you're going to train that dog, and you're going to embed yourself in that dog. Not physically, you fucking Looney Tunes. And so we went out, and I didn't know what to get. She just basically said, what dog do you want to look for? And I was like, well, I don't really know, to be fair. I said I always wanted a husky because I wanted a big white dog. I wanted a big fluffy white dog, I wanted to feel, and we'd always had Shih Tzus before. And don't get me wrong, they're aggressive little fucking balls of fluff, little lions they're called. And they're great. They're an appetizer for a German Shepherd, but they're always fun. But they're also very arrogant dogs. So they're not very cozy. They're not very lovable dogs. And we had a Yorkshire Terrier before that, which are the opposite. They're not very cozy, but they're also very loving, but they're also very aggressive as well. So two aggressive breeds. And then I wanted something a bit bigger. I wanted something a bit manly, So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to get a husky. And then I did a bit of research. I did the proper thing as an adult should do. Research the dog. What does it need? And it needed a lot of fucking walks, a lot of entertaining, and it needed a lot of what I couldn't give it. Because at the time I couldn't. And I was like, I could at the start, but I was like, eventually I'm going to have to work. He's going to have to sit at home. blah, blah, blah. So anyway, and then I happened to go around to a friend's house and they had a white German Shepherd. I went, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that now? And they were like, it's a German Shepherd. I was like, it's not a fucking German Shepherd, it's white. And they were like, you can get white ones. I was like, I want a fucking white one. And I did. I went out. We found this place and they're very rare. And I went and found this place and I got a white German Shepherd. And that was a pivotal point in that was a pivotal point. It was the turning point of my life, because I went from not knowing what depression was, because I didn't know what depression was. I just knew that I was tired all the time. I just knew that I didn't want to face the world. I didn't like the world. I didn't like people. I just knew I wanted to be alone. I didn't have real negative thoughts then, but I just didn't like life. I put weight on, I just felt horrible about myself. And that was the start of the depression. And I think what got me out of, or certainly perked me up of the depression state, was this little ball of fun. This little ball, I say little ball, he was like this, that's turned into 40 kilograms of fucking pure power. But I knew I had to invest in him. I wanted to give this dog the best chance. I wanted to give him the best life he could ever have. And that was a bit for me. That was like having a baby. It was like, and I had babies, but for me, it was like having something that I could train, nurture, walk every single day. He became my companion. He became my fucking man's best friend. That's what he became, my best friend. And I literally remember, and he for 13 years has never left my side. He was in work with me when I lived away for almost 7 years during the week. And then coming back, he was always with me during the week. He was always with me at the weekends. He's been with me for 13 years. Now you can imagine, although he's not, it's really weird with a German Shepherd, because there's a master, and I'm the master. And there's people he looks after. So because he knows I'm the master, he's got a respect for me. So he's not as lovey as he is with the girls, but with the family, because there's 4 women in the house, he's very protective over them, but also acknowledges I'm the master. So, he's very protective when I'm away, very protective, almost like he's on guard, he's fucking on guard. He's ready to fucking go. So it's, but I've nurtured that. I've nurtured the dog to look after me. He almost takes my form when I'm away. He goes, okay, the boss is away, the master's away. I need to look after these. And there's a fucking bug, and he's like, oh, I love the fucking bug. There's someone at the door. He's a fucking mental case, but everybody feels safe with him. And the pivotal point for me was that dog. He saved my life, and he's been with me for 13 years. Now, I know, for me, there's going to be 2 difficult decisions in my life. And it sounds, shouldn't really isolate it down to this, but there's 2 difficult times in my life that I know I'm going to really struggle. And that's the passing of my dog, because I know I'm going to have to make that decision. I know I'm going to have to. And that's going to be me saying goodbye to him. And that's going to be a fucking horrible time. And I think that's probably what is a big driving factor for me wanting this kennel job, and build my own business. Something I'm doing on my GoFundMe. I've not fucking dropped that penny in there a little bit. But yeah, so I think for me, it's kind of that's the driving factor. Is I want to do. I love working with dogs. They give me such a sense of satisfaction. They're so rewarding. They're so loving. They're so giving. They're so amazing. We do not fucking deserve them. As human beings, we do not deserve dogs. So it's an empowering time, but that's one of the times. And the other time will be with my dad, when I eventually at some point have to say goodbye to him, because I've always been a protective person over my dad. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why I'm so protective over him, but I am very protective over him, which is a bit of a weird feeling, because you would say, well, you're not protective over all your family, and what about your mum and all this sort of stuff, and your sister and your brother? And I'm like, I don't know. Again, it feeds into this bit where I don't miss people, but I genuinely, it's not even about, I see, it's weird. I don't miss my dad. I don't get the miss bit, but I'm very protective over him. Like, God forbid anything fucking anyone fucking did anything, I'd fucking kill him. Absolutely fucking kill him. So there's 2 times in my lifetime that I can see are going to be, pertinent points that are going to give me that emotional roller coaster. And I don't know how to react with that. And one of the things that's been happening in the last sort of 6 months as we prepare, and I say prepare because, again, I don't think it'll be mentally. I mean, I'm doing hydrotherapy with him and everything to try and build his muscles up, try and prolong himself, to try and mitigate the risk of the osteoarthritis spreading even more, because he's got really bad muscle degeneration in the back of his sort of scapular area, I think it is, or shoulder blade. I think they're called shoulder blade is what he said. I took him to the vet on Friday because I wanted the vet to look over him and I said to him, "Can you tell me, what is going on? Can I buy straps for him?" Because I said, I'm on Librela with him, so that's £108 a month for a fucking, and I'm not kidding you. This is where the governing body, and I'm not gonna go digress too much into this, but the governing body needs to look at the vets, because we get fucking shafted. £108 a month, and I was in there with with a proper chat with the vet for fucking 6 minutes for £108. He literally went, I popped an injection into him. That's in for 3 weeks. And then I said to him, I paid extra money because I wanted him to give me an opinion. I said to him, what's going on? Because there anything I can do? He's limping. And he's like, no, he won't do that. It's osteoarthritis in his back legs. And it's going through his spine. So he's taken the weight off his back legs because they hurt, and they're going on his front legs. What's happening in his front legs is his muscle degeneration because of age is disappearing, and you're not walking him as much now because you're worried about his legs. So because you're not walking him, he's getting muscle degeneration, which is actually making it worse for him. So they were like, I said, so what's the best thing? He's like, can I get a strap of support? You know how sometimes we put wrist supports on, our elbow supports, we've got tennis elbow, or, knees or anything like that, So he was like, no, you just need to go to hydrotherapy, build those muscles back up, weightless, build those muscles back up for him. And then basically that will prolong his life a little bit more. So I'm, again, you sit there and you go, money's no object to my dog. I'll find a way of getting it if I had to, but you still have to be a little bit conscious of that. And you think to yourself, fucking hell, that's going to be £50 a month. That's £158 a month now, as well as his food and all that. So it does stack up. This is where I say stack up. And this is the element of, again, I'm going to fucking curve back around to the start here and go, this is why I want a job with more money, because I've got more outgoings, because I'm trying to make things better for my kids. I want my kids to have everything they can and enjoy life. That's my obligation, I think, because if I can, I will. And also my dog. I'm like, want my dog to live as long as he fucking can. As long as you fucking can, I'll do whatever he can. And it almost like feeds into my thing going, I'd love to have a kennel, and I'd love to offer hydrotherapy for free. I'd love to build a little mini hydrotherapy center and not charge people, because I'd like to give back. The dream. So I had a big sigh there, because I knew that I so many ideas about having my own business and my own land and my own kennel, and what I can offer and all these sort of things. And I'd be like, just fucking want it. It's almost like you want to win the lottery just to get, fucking 500 grand and just go out and go, right, start now. Fucking boom, I'm all in. Because that's what it's going to cost, half a fucking mil to stand up my own business. But the word impossible says I'm possible. So I always revert back to the mental health analogy to try and say, well, just keep fucking going, James. And that's part of the reason why, again, I've tried to do this. I'm doing this because I want to try and give out there, make myself aware, get the, it all feeds into the same thing. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try a little bit of hydrotherapy, because I want to try and prolong that. I don't want that dark day to come. And I know it's going to come. I absolutely know it. I'm not stupid. And like I said, for the last 6 months, we've been preparing me mentally. My wife often says to me, just remember, you've given him the best life. He's been with you for 13 years. Everywhere you went, he was with you. He was in the car. He was in the van. You always gets fucking treated well. He's always had premium food. My fucking dog has tuna every fucking day. Because I want him to have the best food for his skin and his hair and his fucking bones. So I'm trying my damnedest. So she often says to me, like, don't forget, whether that dark day comes along or not, don't forget you have done everything you can and given that dog the best life that dog can have. He's got a memory foam fucking bed. You carry him. So I carry him. So he comes up the stairs, and I'll never, ever stop him from coming upstairs with us. He's always slept in his little bed beside the bed. Always. And I'll never, ever stop that. So because I can't have him going up and down the stairs, I've got him in a fucking carry pouch. And it's like a fucking handbag. So I fucking strap him up, and I pick him up, and I go, here you go, let's fucking go. And I walk him up the stairs. And she's like, Moses goes, who the fuck else carries a 40-kilogram German Shepherd up the stairs and down the stairs every day? He says, you've given him the best. And I suppose if I was going to feed that into a mental health thing, because I'm like that, I think it's really important. I think it's really important that you remember that you do that. And I think if you do the right things in life, it will always come out. It will always come out positively at the end. And that's the bit that you have to remember, because it's so easy to forget. You can get sad and go, fuck, he's gone. That person's gone, or that thing's gone, whatever it may be. But at the same time, remember that you gave that thing the best life you could have. Yes, it's a short period of time, although there's a miracle drug that's coming out in 2026 that's supposedly reversing the aging of dogs. I say fucking bring it on. I say bring that fucker on. If I can invest, I'll invest. Because the longer we get with dogs, the better. I think that they're already saying now, actually, I'm going to digress a little bit. They're already saying now, whereas dogs were raised from, for years ago, they were wolves, weren't they? And then we've bred them and we've done different things and whatever. I don't really know. It's a science thing. But they were wild at the end of the day. They've all been wild, and they've all been trained to have, to be working dogs and everything else. But what they're saying now is dogs now are starting to evolve. They've seen the evolution of dogs already in our lifetime. They've seen the evolution of dogs because dogs are becoming more therapeutic. Like, I got my dog based on the fact that I needed that therapy. I needed to get out and walk. I needed a reason to get out of my bed. And he was the reason for me. That was the trigger. Now you could say, well, what about your family? What about your job? What about this? What about that? Yeah, you can say about all those things. They didn't work for me. That wasn't getting me out of bed. I didn't give a shit about work. I didn't give a shit about my family. I didn't give a shit about friends. I was in a fucking horrible place. You chuck a fluffy dog in front of me and you say that's yours and you're going to train it and you're going to nurture it and it's going to be your life. I'm fucking all in. Okay, that's my trigger. That's my fun. That's my happy place, is my dog. My dog is my absolute happy place. I fucking hate dealing with human beings. But with dogs, all day fucking long. They're semi-predictable, unless you get, But again, I always say a dog is a representation of its owner. So if you get an unpredictable dog, it's normally because the owner's been pretty fucking unpredictable. Whereas I'm not. I'm very predictable with my dog. There's only one time I've had to show force with that dog. And that was in the transition between going from a puppy to a teenager. Now, I was warned about this. I was lucky. I was doing it. I'm going to give you a little story here. So I was photographing a wedding. I used to do wedding photography. Again, I've had a fucking another hobby that turned into a business because I thought it'd be lucrative. Got bored after 2 years. Got myself in magazines and all sorts. I got fucking third in life in a lifestyle magazine for a competition because of I took a photo of a car on an airfield with a helicopter in the background, and it just looked, it was just the perfect time, perfect light and everything. It was just perfect. So I got fully embedded. And I sort of sat there and the photography side of me, and I kind of went, right, okay, this is a new hobby. But for me, it was kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to lose my train of thought here, really, because I'm spitting balls everywhere. Not literally. I suppose I'll tell you what it is. The sadness there of my dog, just thinking it's coming to the fucking end, is kind of over generated my brain a little bit there, to be fair. And I was kind of going, fuck it, just forget about that, James. So I'm gonna have to, because I'm talking quite in depth about it, and it's kind of raising those thoughts again, and I don't like those thoughts. But yeah, I'm sort of sat there anyway. So I'm going to digress. Happy place, happy place, where my dog was my life. He gave me everything I needed. I kind of went, so I don't really know how to do this, so I'm going to try and sort of prolong those sorts of things. I have completely, by the way, lost my fucking train of thought. That has made me super fucking sad, actually. I was sat there going, fucking hell, James. I went way too in depth there mentally, although in the focus of my forefront of my fucking face, I was all fucking good. Mentally, in my mind there, I was going, fucking hell, James, that's going to be a sad fucking day. And I almost started to live it like it was my day, like it was tomorrow. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, James? Shut your fucking mouth. So again, that's because I'm having multiple conversations in my head at one time. So I was having a good, happy conversation with you that was going to talk about photography and get into a nice little thing. And in the back of my brain, I was sat there going, no, James, you've got a really sad day coming up. You've done everything you can, but fucking hell, you're going to lose that boy. You're going to lose, oh, fucking hell, what are you going to do? Where's your routine gone? Where's your morning walk? Where's the fucking hell? That was what I was thinking in the back of my brain there. So I'm going to nurture myself off of that one. Nurture myself off a little bit. Anyway, so it's important. Mental health. Look after yourself. That's the key driver here. I think it's really weird, but I was sort of kind of. I think the negative thought processes of the weekend has taken over. I can tell because that straight. It's almost like I found a dopamine there in the negativity that I was thinking about, and I was going, "Oh, that's exciting. How can you stop this, then, James? What can you do to stop this?" And I was going, "Oh, hydrotherapy. Okay, it's expensive, but we're going to do it. Oh yeah. Well, maybe if we get to 2026 and we get this fucking thing, do you reckon we can scrape this to 2026 and we can get this fucking thing? And we can start doing that." No, James. Let's be realistic about it, mate. It's not going to reach you, Common Joe blogs, in 2026. It might get announced in 2026, but anyway, there you go. We digress, but it's interesting. Oh, that was it. Oh, fucking hell. I pulled myself back there. I found it in the little chest of straws. So anyway, so we've been talking about dogs, weren't we? Yes, we were, James. We were talking about dogs, for fuck's sake. And we are talking about them wild. And we're saying about, so I got my dog, therapy. Yes, back on thought now. Got my dog, got me out. Absolutely. Fucking got me fucking doing exactly what I wanted to do. But they're saying now that dogs are becoming more acutely aware. That's the word I'm looking for. Acutely aware of humans, because we talk to them more. Like, how many people do you know? How many of you are single with a dog? How many of you go home and talk to that dog? How many of you got a family and got a dog that walks through the door and the dog's the first thing waiting and you get the full love and everything else? Dogs now are not like they used to be, where we would use them as working dogs and you see them on the farm, sheep, herding the sheep. We don't need to do that anymore now, do we? Do you know what I mean? I mean, fucking hell, it's done by drones a lot of the time now in places like America and stuff like that. They herd all the cattle with drones because it's cheaper, easier, and more effective. But what we've inherently done is turn dogs into our therapy dogs. So they're becoming more understanding of emotions. They get emotions. How many times do you see dogs on the internet now where you see the little clips and stuff and you see them talking? I mean, I don't mean physically talking, because lock that down, hold that dog fucking high. He's going to be fucking experimented on. But they do. You can see a dog and you'll say hello and it'll go, row, row. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're evolving. We're seeing a natural evolution with humans and dogs because we treat them differently. Whereas they used to be in a kennel outside, and then, you'd come out, you'd feed them outside. How many times do you see that in places like, Norway or anything like that? They've got all these huskies and they're all outside. I mean, don't get me wrong. They love it. They're built for it. They're ingrained for it. They've got triple fucking layers of fur and all this sort of stuff. They love it. That's what they work for. But we've evolved and we've moved away from that. That's why we take a bigger leap now into, all this sort of crossbreeding. They call it pedigrees, but it's not fucking pedigree if it's called a cockapoo. It's a mongrel. So it's two different breeds. But have you noticed how we're doing that? We're getting two dogs that are like really overly caring and breeding them. And then they're becoming a therapy. So you see cockapoos. I mean, we're going for a big transition where a lot of these dogs that I know are mongrels, and I will say they're fucking mongrels because I've got one. I've got a Shorkie. He's got a massively overshot lower jaw. He's massive anxiety. Can't fucking hold weight at all. He's skinny as fuck because he's so anxious all the time. But that's because he's at the same time can be really aggressive. So he has to fight those emotions. And that's because he's a Yorkshire Terrier, which is highly strung, that's been mated with a Shih Tzu. And the Shih Tzus are sort of kind of fluffy, but can be aggressive. So we've got a little bit of an aggressive bit, but a really overly lovely dog because he's a Yorkshire Terrier. Why the fuck am I talking about dogs? Because I fucking love them. But it's interesting how they're evolving, how they're becoming therapeutic dogs to us. We're treating them. You see this thing where relationships aren't happening anymore because people are just going, do you know what? I'd rather go and have a place on my own with a dog and just live my life. I don't want the fucking stress of humans. We're becoming really negative. As humans, we're negative. I mean, the environment and the world isn't helping, but we are becoming more negative. So we use these little tips and tricks, and we use these outside influences to make us feel happy. And that's why dogs become more acutely aware of human emotions. Have you walked in before and you've been sad? What's the first thing? If you've got a dog, what does he do? What does he make you feel? You can have the fucking worst day in the world. And what does your dog make you feel? Amazing. When I lived away, one of the big driving factors for me was I remember there'd be nights where I'd be sat there and I'd fucking throw down 8 cocodamals because that was the only way I could shut myself off and literally stop the brain from overthinking and going into negative places. And I would sit there and I would go, right, mate. And I'd pick my dog up and I put him on the bed and I just cuddle him because I was like, oh, you're just a big fucking teddy bear. And it was just comforting because he gave you unconditional love. There was a dog doesn't give you love on a condition. It's not because you bring home money, not because you bring home protection. It's not because you bring home this or you're this way or you're this and you have to do this. There's nothing attached to a dog's love. It is unconditional for free, which breaks me when people hurt them because they're not there to hurt you. They're there to love you. They're there to make you feel amazing. And I think that for me is what absolutely it was pivotal in my life. Would I say I'd still be here now? I couldn't honestly say, because even with a dog, I still have attempted 3 times. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But at the same time, I'm happy that I've had him, and I'm happy that I've got him, and I'm happy that I've got 13 years plus of memories with him. I'm happy that he got me out of that bed. I'm happy that I did training with him for, the second bit just come into my brain there was the training bit. I'll tell you what, my brain's a fucking mental state. I trained him, and again, the only, like I say, I can go back into it because I know where I was now because I've got rid of the dark thoughts and I'm back into the normal thoughts. And I was photographing a wedding. That's where I got to, wasn't it, James? Fucking hell! Look at this. Come back round again. These would come back round, so I get to finish the story. Photographing weddings. So I did that. Photograph weddings. Got into it. Fucking loved it. And then gave it up. But I remember photographing this couple, and I went round to her house to meet her and do her bridal, do the setup photos. The bride in the morning and all that sort of stuff. And we were chatting away, and she had a photo of German Shepherds. And I went, oh, I've got to work German Shepherd. Anyway, so turns out she was a trainer and a breeder of German Shepherds for years. She fucking knew everything about German Shepherds. And all she said to me was, she said, do you know what? They're amazing dogs. The more you have, the better they are because they work in tandem. And she said, you can walk down the road with 2 German Shepherds or even one, but she said, you walk down with 2 German Shepherds and no fucker would even hesitate to walk near you. 2 black and tan. She said, and I had 3. She had 3 black and tan German Shepherds. And she said she felt like a fucking queen. Nobody's going to fuck with 3 German Shepherds. And it's true. They've got that stigma, absolutely, because of the police force, but they do. They look mean. They're fucking walking bears. They're big, hairy bears. And she said to me, there's one thing I'm going to tell you. She said, I'll give you one tip. There's going to be a time when he's a teenager and he's going to try and challenge you because she said, I assume you're the master. And I went, yeah. She said, he's going to try and challenge you because it's a natural instinct for him. He said, what you have to do is you have to, whenever it happens, she said, you'll know because he will challenge you. And she said, and it'll feel unusual. It'll be about his teenager times. She said, you need to push him on his side. You need to lay on him, not physically fucking fall him, but lay across him. He says, you need to put your face next to him and you need to just literally keep it there. And every time he moves his head, push his head down. Push his head down until he's fully submissive. She said, once you do that, if you do it right, he'll never do it again. So if you do it wrong, he'll challenge you again because you didn't show full signs. She said, I can't emphasize you need to be fully committed. And she said, when you see a German Shepherd showing its teeth to you as a puppy, as a big fucking 30-kilogram puppy, she said, you will shit yourself. She said, but you get it right, it'll never happen again. I don't have fear, so I got it right. I fucking pushed him down to his side or laid him onto his side. He was growling and grumbling with me. I was like, fucking, and pushed his head down, put my head on his side of his head. And that's a way of showing dominancy because I don't know if you know, but dogs, when they're scenting you and they put their neck on you, they're dominating you. And I did that. And then every time I tried to get him, put him down. And then I stepped right back and he stayed there. He didn't move. And then I said to him, you can come up. And he knew straight away then, no, I ain't fucking with that guy. And he's never done it since. Touch fucking hundreds a week. Never done it since. So that's the power. She gave that to me. She said, that's the one thing I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you that with the dog and make sure you do that. And I did it right. So there's a learning tip for you. Anyone that's got a German Shepherd, if you get a German Shepherd, make sure you do that right. Otherwise it will dominate you for the rest of his fucking life. And it hasn't. He's never shown his teeth to me, never shown aggression, always been super fucking kind, super trained. And I spent that time. Like I said, he saved me. He saved my life. And I invested in that. And I suppose to wrap that up a little bit and to wrap up for today, I think the reason that I get so sad is because that is a powerful message for me. And it's almost like I'm giving up the tethers of somebody I know he's been consistent. So he's been with me. And I suppose that sort of feeds into a bit of the sort of ADHD and autism, the neurodivergency for me, really, is because I've been consistent. I know that I've had to walk him every single day. I've had to walk him at a certain time because he likes his routine. He's just as much a routine master as I am. He's been there for me every single dark hour, everywhere I've been. He's been with me. You know, if I go to a show or I go downtown or I do whatever, I go camping, he comes with me, and he's always been there. He's lived with me at every single point, every time I lived in someone's house. So I rented a couple of rooms before, and I said, "Oh, do you mind if I bring my dog?" And they were like, "No." Luckily, I made sure I found someone that liked dogs, and he came in, went upstairs, sat beside my bed, and got part of and became part of me. He was my be all and end all for 13 years. And I suppose it's almost like you're letting go of that consistency. It's almost like you're going, okay, it's like a child, isn't it? Becoming an adult, and you kind of go, you're on your own. You know, I remember my daughter saying to me, "Oh, my MOT's due." And I went, "All right." She's like, "Oh, well, what do I do?" I was like, "Book it in with the garage, like I've told you, like I did last year." "Well, can you do it?" "No, you need to learn to do it. Phone the garage, tell them you need an MOT, give them your fucking registration number, and book it in for a convenient time for you. It's as easy as that." Now, I could have turned around and said, "Yeah, give it in." I could have mollycoddled you. And no, I'm not like that. Crack on with it. You give them a little bit of hints, but I suppose for me, to tap into that side, the mental health side of things for me, that's the tether I'm letting go of. And it's a consistent tether that has been there from my darkest days. And it's almost like I'm going, you're on your own now. Am I ready to be on my own without him? I don't know. I know that that's going to be a dark day. It's going to be a horrendous day. But we have to live. We have to learn. We have to adapt. We have to evolve. We have to live with it. You know, and that's the key thing. And I think that for me, doing it the right way, there's things I know that I'll do. I'll plant a tree, you know, I'll get a tattoo, all of these things. You know, I'd love to get him fucking stuffed. My missus says, "No, you're not fucking getting a giant German Shepherd stuffed." I fucking love it. But I have got, I've been saving to have a life-size wooden carving of an artist that's going to do it. It's a considerable amount of money. It's about £800. And I've been saving and scribbling away in the background because I want them to recreate him in a wooden carving. Number one, you can tell I've been talking for over an hour. I've got the hiccups now, and I've got nothing to wet the whistle. It's empty. But I've got that prepared. I'm trying to do everything I can, checks and balances, to make sure that I do it right at the end. I make sure that I solidify, I cement his memory everywhere, in me, on me. You know, I'll get a bit of his ashes tattooed in me, which, you know, that's how much he means to me. Get a tree planted for him, and I want this life-size German Shepherd to sit in my garden. So wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I will have a life-size of the first ever fucking big dog that looked after me and saved my life. And I think that's the fucking way we're going to end there. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you're okay. Like I say, keep plodding on. I hope I haven't been too depressive today. I try not to be. I'm trying to be positive, but again, I'm deflated at the moment. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one for me, but I'm trying. I'm driving on. I'm trying to do what I can. But it's interesting. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. I'd love to know if you miss people. I'd love to know that. Do you miss people? Or is it a neurodivergency thing? Or is it just me fucked up? I don't know. It could well be. But anyway, I look forward to hearing from you. Take care. And I can't wait for the next podcast already. I'm super excited. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.